I want to make the point that when something goes wrong, you're going to have to take the response. That's what I'm trying to emphasize. And you're saying, well, we know that full well. But I'm trying to emphasize that and say you're going to have to take responsibility
and
because
please give us
you've been warned.
And please give us the credit to know that we do consider the exposure. And thank you for the warning.
It's a friendly warning. I'm not trying to,
Right.
that's all. I'm done.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Move on. Next, anybody else? Yes, sir.
Bruce Wilson, 405 North Main Street. Had a problem with the sewer line at 406 Northwest Street 2 times this year. Had a contractor come in and clear my main line and go approximately 10 to 15 feet down your line back in April. After that was done, the draining improved and was fine up until about the 18th of December. I have the dates here if we need them. But anyway, approximately the 18th of December, same problem with the same pipe and line. They ran a cleaner down it and went at least 20 feet past my line into your line.
They being who?
Salter Plumbing,
Okay. Good outfit.
yes. And at that time, things apparently still did not clear properly or at all, I don't know which. And so the sewer jet truck came and ran the sewer jet thing up that line that was involved with my draining, which has several places hooked to it. And once it was cleared and it was drained out and the black gunk came out of there and cleared it, everything seems to be in good working order now. I paid him in April to do it, and I just paid him again in December to do it. And I don't think I should have to pay that person a second time because your line wasn't maintained.
Okay. If that's the case, if it's our line that wasn't maintained, you're absolutely correct. If it's another issue, then the answer may be different. So keep an open mind.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Okay. What I suggest is, Bill, are you aware of this issue?
I was on vacation, but they called me and I
Okay.
just suggested to them to flush the main out.
Okay.
Just.
Bill, why don't you take a close look at what it is, if you need engineering to help you and analyze what, very well may be our fault. But at the same time, if you could put this in writing so that we'll submit it to our liability carrier. Okay, so that if it is our fault, you certainly shouldn't bear the burden. So to make sure you don't come here and have your say and feel good and then walk away and nothing's done, let's use a two-pronged approach. First, Bill, you'll do an assessment with or without the help of engineering, depending on what you find, and then report back to me, because it's a legal issue. And Bev, if you could put a...
Bev's aware of the situation because I gave her copies of the bills that I received.
Okay, Bev, if you could open up, submit a liability claim,
Okay.
all right?
Did we use the sewer jet back in April? We
No.
didn't clean the line out back in April?
There wasn't no problem anywhere else either in that line.
Okay.
You know,
And as far as I know, according to what they told me, it wasn't plugged.
You're gonna scope it?
And why didn't it drain?
Bill, you gonna scope
It
it?
had to be plugged if it was drained.
Yeah,
You're gonna scope it, right?
we can, we can get
See-
up.
We'd like to see what's inside, yeah.
It's an old line, I do know that. Mine is old as well as yours.
Most of them are.
Is it terracotta?
Sure it is. In that part of town.
Part of it, yeah.
Part of it probably is. They, at some point, many years ago, ran a telephone pole through it and a guy wire through it and worked around the pole, the line. According to what my son was told by whoever was working the sewer jet for when you were away.
So let's get a film on it, okay?
Bill, it's in your ballpark, report back to me with what your thoughts are. If you need engineer to assist, you're authorized to do it because it's a legal issue. And at the same time, Bev is not gonna hold this up, so she'll go ahead and follow up on it.
So do I need to write something specific about this scenario?
I think what you should do is, as a lawyer, I would tell you, if I were your lawyer, don't write anything, you know, other than to put down, there's this problem that you feel is caused by the main line, okay, and that you've suffered certain damages, and these are the bills.
And you
Okay.
brought it to the attention of the board and
Yeah, because what you don't wanna do from your end is say something that the board will use against you, so if it comes to, and I'm not saying it would, but if it can't get.
Well, I'm just, you know,
All right, so this man is the man that you should be communicating with, and then just drop off a brief written note to Bev. Actually, we're probably more interested to make sure we have your name, phone number, and address.
yeah, she knows all that.
All right,
I'm sure she knows.
and I hope we can, I hope we can resolve this.
anything else, Bruce?
There was one or two other brief things.
Okay.
You were saying that you were going to publish the meeting dates and so forth.
Correct. We're going to.
In what? Or
Radio
how?
Enterprise.
Okay, not on the website.
They should be on the website also, but we will be publishing them officially in Radio Enterprise.
Well, the reason I asked that, because I went to the website the other day,
It's a couple
and
of
it's
years
from
old.
2016.
Yeah.
So it didn't
Bev
do
is-
me any
Bev
good,
is
so then I had to call the borough office.
Bev has indicated she's going to work on that
Okay.
at the direction of both
I just,
CBA and CAMA.
I don't use the computer a whole lot for those kinds of things, but I thought, I'm gonna try it and see what I get. And the real results report.
Yeah,
As far as getting any kind of accurate information from that.
yep.
And it was also expressed to me, just briefly on the epiphany thing, and I'm not going on about that very long. Something to the effect that whether this thing flies or not, the money that the sewer authority has put into this so far, which, what somebody mentioned at $20,000, I don't know. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. Are we gonna get that back, whether it flies or not? Or how does it work?
Well, first of all, there's a formula in the lease for payments that we're to receive, and an increase in rental fees if there's extra fees that we have to pay. Okay. Ultimately, so, and I don't know where that $20,000 figure comes from, but we certainly haven't paid $20,000.
So that's
Excuse me.
close,
I did a right to know request
That's probably,
for the invoices.
All right.
that's probably pretty close to correct.
That was it.
That the authority has paid, not
Yep.
that Epiphany.
No, that the authority.
CAMA.
Yeah.
That the authority is paid.
Okay.
I'm interested in knowing what we, as the sewer using people of the borough, are getting involved in,
That's not being reimbursed.
and are we going to
All
get
right, if you would
reimbursed somehow?
please not involve
If
yourself.
things no matter which way it goes. Somehow, will we recover that money?
We may. Currently, we will be getting $1,000 a month in our lease payment, plus some additional surplus based on future expenses.
Would we
we're
receive that
getting.
regardless
But-
of the 20,000?
But
Excuse me, you people, this isn't a, you will wait your turn, you'll at least ask to be recognized. This isn't a general discussion.
okay, so first of all, in all probability, we're going to regroup most of this. The second thing is, if we move into phase two, we're talking about a major payment, 50 cents on the gallon, and additional costs. So we're looking at a project that will be in the hundreds of thousands in terms of revenue if it is successfully completed.
Okay.
Okay, so like any project,
Yeah.
if you're looking at 5, 10,000, 20,000, and you're looking at a project that's really going to be a multi-million-dollar project, with our proceeds from it being substantially more than 20,000,
Right.
that's all taken into account. All right. So, and yes, we're very cognizant, and we're keeping strict controls on what is expended in this project by us. And trust me, Epiphany's very conscious of what they're spending.
Okay, well, I was just trying to get some idea how it was going. I'm not for or against the project per se, but I would hopefully, no matter what the outcome might be, at least see a break even or a small profit on
Let me just.
what's happening
Let me just
with the
say
money.
this. The 20,000 that you're talking about, part of that is going to be recouped by the lease formula in terms of the higher rent, is it not?
That would be the
Yes.
idea,
Yes.
yeah, you have this lease
Okay.
agreement for 5 years.
Right, so, and in addition to that, we did not spend any money on the fossils and what have you, correct?
No, Epiphany paid for that,
Oh, okay.
phase one study.
So, we're not out 20,000.
Okay.
Okay. But thank you, and I hope for now that answers your question.
Yeah, I'm looking at, compared to the whole picture, I'm looking at my end where how much more, hopefully no more for a while, am I gonna be spending on sewer and or water? I know you don't deal with water, but.
Right, but here's the other thing that you've got to keep into
Oh my God.
account. We have suffered a big loss in our user amounts. The system, when Adelphia went down, we went down a third in capacity.
Yeah, I know we're still paying for them.
And not only
We're all
that,
paying for 'em.
but you have redevelopment authority buying up property
And knocking them down.
and knocking them down, which is lowering our user rate too.
And
And-
tax base.
And
Right.
so one of the things that people that are anti-fracking and anti-Epiphany water recycling don't always point out is that we are constantly looking at increasing our user rates or substituting that fee so that we're not in a situation, and we already started looking at private water companies. And you wanna see big bills, okay? If we sold our headache to a private water company, you'd be paying much more than you currently are, okay? So when you look at this project in terms of what the authority's trying to do, keep in mind, what we're trying to do is, number one, improve the environment, because we feel that unless we see otherwise, that this is less intrusive than other ways of digging up water for fracking. And we're not gonna stop fracking. Okay?
No, that's unlikely.
And the second part of that is, we're also looking at other revenue bases so that we don't outprice our residents like Adelphia did. You know, when houses went to 150,000 from 25, and grandma said, why give it to my son? I can go to Florida. You know, and all of a sudden you had all these people come in, houses were worth 250, they were mortgaged, and nobody local can afford it. Okay. We're trying to not only recoup still from that situation, but also make sure that whatever the alternative is, we don't put ourselves in that situation. But at the same time, do it in a safe manner.
Can I just add to what he said, Belinda? Is that, you know, when we started this, when CAMA was formed, it was because the previous board didn't do the upkeep and the maintenance, okay? DEP comes in and starts fining us $5,000 a day. That's why we're sitting in this building right now. They absolutely required this new sewer system, which cost us, you know, upwards over $6 million, which we're trying to recoup also.
Okay, let me kind of clarify so that it's not. What happened was this county had very low taxes, very low sewage rates, very low everything. Why? Because I've been solicitor since in the 80s, and since the 80s nobody did a damn thing. Okay, there were no capital projects done. There weren't improvement leaks. You know how leaks were fixed? A little cement, you know, on the leak. All of a sudden comes a new era, and DEP comes and says, we're shutting your community down. And yes, we were on the verge of a ban, folks, of no development, no new residences, no new businesses coming in, unless we were able to figure out a way to set up a new system. And all of a sudden, for water, we had to come up with $9 million. For sewer, was about $6 million. For sewer, we had to come up with financing for that. All right, and pay off the old bond owners on the old situation. Okay.
$6.5 million.
Okay. So when you're looking at these situations, these are not fat cats here. These are your neighbors. Okay, and they're looking at a way to pass this community on to the children, and they don't want their children dying of radiation or cancer or anything else, but they also want them to afford to live in the community, and that's what we're trying to do.
Okay.
Dale, you got something?
I talked to Bev, and she says that I'm in line to try to get some of these hookups that the sewer authorities losing because of, you know, two hookups, three hookups on paying one sewer bill.
Yeah,
And
we
you
have
guys have
actually,
been addressing that, and I thank you, and I think you guys as a board is doing a good job. You got a thankless job.
Thank you.
You've made more sense tonight than sometimes you do, and I appreciate that.
yeah, we have moved forward on that. We've got a committee formed that's met and discussed it. We've had engineering do a rate study for us that, you know, right now we actually need to sit and discuss the EDU thing, or how to assign EDUs. So
I got
yes,
caught up in that lack of EDU thing when I built my first duplexes, because
Yes.
there was no EDUs available.
Yeah.
And I had to wait in line to get the EDUs
Yep.
done, and then that was about the same time that they expanded the sewer plant and went to Sweet Valley.
Yeah,
and so on.
we absolutely, and everybody on the board recognizes that you were not treated too fairly at that point. And that's what we're trying to do. And we're working hard at it, but there's a lot of ins and outs, legal
No
and
easy
other ways
fix.
we're trying to figure
That told
out.
me we liked it.
But too, the economy here is, you referenced, you know, we're not in the heyday of the good times anymore. And we're left here paying for, and I have a lot to lose in my real estate investments that I've made here in Borough, and, you know.
And you have been one of the people that have been trying to do it the right way. You know, there are slumlords that come in and are looking for the extra few pennies. You have never been there. And sometimes you wound up bearing the brunt of that.
the one other thing that I don't like with the sewer rates is I've had vacancies, I've gone, sometimes, I don't know what they are, but 2 years ago, I went 18 months, I had 18 months of vacancies in 1 year.
Yeah, but don't ruin the kumbaya moment.
But I
He's
still,
sitting
I
next
still
to a
pay a
supporter.
sewer, I still pay a sewer bill for that. The sewer bill is, as long as the pipe's hooked to it, you pay a sewer bill.
Yeah.
And I'm not in agreement with that as an owner. You know, there should be a reduced rate or something, but that's where we're at and that's what it
Those
is.
are all the things that were on the table right now, and
I
I hate to
understand
say,
that.
you know, we actually have been working on it for some time now. It's just very difficult getting through some of the legal and the engineering problems, you know. I think it's gonna be solved here in the, you know, I'm not saying
I
for
hate to say
sure.
near future, but in the
Yeah.
future, I guess is the best way to put
It
it.
is, we are working on it
We
diligently, yeah.
We are.
Okay, I know you guys got a meeting, you got other business to take, I'm not gonna take any more of your time, thank you.
Any other public comment?
Yeah, I just have one, like the lease and addendum, it says that extra money, every month for the rent, it's, $500 or more extra a month for the 5-year lease, to reimburse for premises improvements. That $20,000 hasn't been gone toward premises improvements. The premises improvements on the lease or the addendum is listed as the gravel, purchasing the gravel and the spreading, but it doesn't say anything about reimbursing the engineering costs and the permit costs.
So engineering or legal costs can't be premises improvements?
No, it's not premises improvements, and listed on the lease it says the
Well,
premises.
thank you very much.
No,
I feel
it's not.
underappreciated.
Well, I could go look at the premises and I could see that it's clearly not improved at
But
all.
thank you for your comment.
But permits are not premises improvements.
Okay, thank you for your comment, 'cause you.
Anybody else? Hearing none, moving on, meeting minutes from December 19th. Floor to additions, deletions. We have a motion to accept as presented. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carried. Solicitor's report.
I don't have a report.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just make a few comments in little, that really would be more appropriate in new business, and then I'm out of here because of my physical condition.
Okay.
I attended, for those that were not there, I attended the DEP public hearing. I want to tell you from my point of view, and I have an educational background. I have a doctorate, I have a master's, and I've gone to some pretty influential schools, that the level of expertise on all sides of that issue was very, very impressive. I mean, that was there were knowledgeable objections made that have to be considered, and there were knowledgeable defenses raised. And for those that missed it, you missed a very thorough, within the time limits that were allowed, discussion and a highly intellectual discussion of the issues by not only experts, but members of the community who have been working in the area of environmental preservation for 20, 30 years. So that I, for one, am very happy that that meeting occurred. And I, for one, would look forward to those type of meetings being held as the need for information develops in this project. Thank you.
Moving on, Borough Manager's report.
Shoot your mouth to take off.
Well, I also learned not to piss down upstream or downstream.
I thought you were
Downwind.
Downwind.
Upwind.
They learned that in the Navy real quick.
Or tug on Superman's cape.
Don't piss off Charles Bronson. That was another one too.
There's a bunch of checks.
You put them in your yellow thing here.
Yeah, that's the one.
No, there's two.
I don't even know all this stuff.
We're reminding you of your board. Yep.
Just as a point of record, we did receive a letter from Sweden Township appointing Kevin. I have here, it's just the last page of the receivables because this was the last day to collect them and Holly had a stack about this big, so it really doesn't tell you much. It'll be more clear in a couple days, which I could even email you a copy out that tells you what's outstanding.
Until the rents?
Rents, yes,
Will email?
I can,
Would you please?
yes, okay.
Thank you.
Also here, there is a list of the liens that have been placed and removed. There hasn't been anything much lately. They're here. All I have then is the financial reports, the receipts and the rents for the month of December, and all the year-end expenditures from the operating budget. Is there any questions?
Is that what you provide to us?
You can
What
see
it
this.
is provided to us?
Yeah, you can see it.
So
What was their percentage at the end of the year? What'd you do?
87.
87%.
We're looking at about 60, a little less than 64 coming back.
64,000?
Let us down the dark
63.
path, or,
Yeah.
we got engineers that-
Just
Just
about.
I like to round it off.
I mean, that's
A lot
not a
of that-
confirmed final number,
A
but
lot of that was insurance, hospitalization. You know, we never know what our hospitalization's gonna be until the very end of the year. So, that was a big
When you
savings.
recoup that, would you put me on the transaction? When we go to the bank or whatever, we, okay,
We'll get you a copy.
Okay.
We'll get you-
yeah.
yeah. Definitely get you a copy. Yeah, that was a big thing. And there was a, well, you know, other little things. The electric was down just a tad. I don't know how that happened.
Was that due to the
Bill
new
had-
lights?
I don't know, Bill up there on his little wheel.
electric's on the way up too.
Yeah. Did those new lights make you think they can improve it? I'm sorry, but
That's okay, no, no,
do
no,
you
it's
think
fine.
that they made less use?
Those UV light,
Yes.
I don't know, I can't help but think that they must have. They must be
They must.
helping some.
And I'll bring it out, I'll bring it up.
That's okay. I don't really have much more, so I'm trying to do a little fill in here. I don't have much to fill with, so that's all I have.
Bev, I'd like to personally thank you, because I know you treat this money as if it's your own, and to come 13% under budget is much, much better than being 13% over budget.
Well,
Thank you.
well, sometimes it's easier to have the money there and not spend it.
And then we come back and
Yeah,
I'll come back and ask.
yeah. I don't like asking for money.
One quick question as far as salaries and training, is that gonna impact Bill's licensing? Isn't he required to have a certain amount of training
Yeah,
every
he
year?
gets it.
Okay, well, we didn't spend any money on it, that's why I was
I
asking.
don't think he had, did any this past year. It's every, what, every 3 years you have to
Yeah,
have
it's
so
renewed
many
period.
credits? Yeah,
So many credits and.
yeah.
Okay.
He can do it pretty quick.
We gotta get after them every, because the other two licenses run out at the same time, right?
Mm.
So. we-
Bill's usually very good about getting all his credits.
That's right.
They're all very conscientious about
But
it.
it's a must this year, because they run out the end of December.
Well, see, they run out, so, here in my mind, I'm thinking they get them slowly, a little bit as they go, but nope, they'll get them.
Any questions for the borough manager?
And the only other thing, I had Mr. Wilson was here and talked about his issue, and that's good. Mr. Anderson was here, talked about his issue, and that's good.
I gotta say publicly, I think it sounds like it is our problem. what will we have to do if we find it is our problem?
Depends on what the problem is
Because
he finds.
You know, I don't think his part of it is that, you know, needs to be cleaned. It's gotta be in our, somewhere in our system.
Well, there hasn't been a problem in that area in years.
Yeah.
And, also noticed, by the, fellows that flush it, they don't have a track net cleanup.
Behind South Main
You
Street.
know, so it couldn't be just flushed, you know, from, and down the line. So evidently, and I just told them, I said, I just for the heck of it, go up there and flush the main and clean it out once. And maybe that'll help them out a little bit. Well, I didn't figure it was gonna cause a holocaust like this, but, you know, there's still some more work he needs to do. He needs to get a trap net clean out of it.
Part of the response to him then should include
You know,
the-
absolutely, it will.
Okay.
If there, anybody that has a problem, they don't have them items, they're.
So you don't think we have a collapsed line or any of that kind
I
of
don't
stuff?
believe so, no.
Yeah.
And he mentioned the telephone pole, because I helped fix that. They just nipped the edge of the line, and we went in and we just kind of routed around it very, with some fittings and stuff, and there hasn't been an issue since.
So if we do the camera on it, that will
Right.
solve the issue.
You know, maybe I'll find a low spot or something, you know, who knows? You know, but, that's to be determined.
Yeah, I think once you TD that, you'll be able to see if there's any kind of structural defect in that line that needs to be addressed beyond.
Yeah,
Report back to the board and we'll find out.
if I remember correctly, there's one hookup below them, and there's, at least 3 above it, and none of them people called, you know, and he owns some of them
Well,
places
you
too.
know, and I think one of the things too, you want to tell people in your response to him is, you know, if you are having an issue, call, notify the sewer authority
Right.
that you have an issue.
You know, I wasn't even aware of anything happening in April.
Right, you know,
Uh,
and if, you know, and that's a big thing.
One of those houses is unoccupied, you know, the Buchanan place is unoccupied, so,
But,
you know,
make
I don't know if
people
it
aware.
makes a
It's on
difference.
Main Street now, it's on Main Street.
It's on Main.
Buchanan's house, isn't it? Yeah,
John's?
yeah, John Buchanan's house. Where's the sewer going?
It is the corner house on Main Street.
Yeah.
It goes up front.
How far is it?
Yeah. Solve the problem there.
But the old Murray greenhouse goes under that garage. that they
Yes,
have
that's
there.
what he's, yeah.
And,
That's across the street, though, isn't it?
Mhm.
no, it's was right next to Buchanan's house.
Right next to Buchanan's.
And they put it out the back and
All right.
draw over to West Street.
All right.
And, they built a garage over top of it years ago. The corner house on West and Fifth.
Fifth,
And
or
West
Crystal.
Fifth.
Yeah, we're-
Yeah, that goes in that
yeah.
line. Also, the old tap place across the street does. So, you know, plus, Darren's does. On the other side, on Fourth Street, that goes up around the barn and.
Yeah, he has that little place across from the telephone place. right
Yeah.
there, Yeah.
That was back in December. There wasn't any chance that that could have been frozen.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
No, it was frozen. My snake put it that way.
That was before that cold.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
before it got cold,
Okay.
yeah.
Check it out, let us know. Anything else for the borough manager? Moving on, treasurer's report.
One bill is the, 2 bills. Stenich and Stenich retainer for 2,500 for 2018, and Biz Hensel's monthly for $95.
Do we have a motion to pay bills as presented?
So we'll make it.
Second, do we have a second? Motion and second, any further discussion?
For the record, are those the same numbers as in 2017? Thank you.
Yes. Roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
This is a little bit out of order, but it's a necessity. We're having problems with the machine, and my suggestion is to purchase this machine for the secretary. $61.49, digital recorder. Which means it can do longer, you don't have to put the tapes in, and that kind of stuff.
59 hours worth of recording. If we have a meeting that lasts 59 hours, you won't say, catch me at the next one.
Yeah, I think she needs it, and I made a suggestion that we purchase, she goes out and get it for herself.
I'll second the motion.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion to authorize purchase of
make that
a digital recorder
Yes.
for $61.79? We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second?
Second. Any further discussion?
Does water want 50% of it?
No, they have.
No, they've got their own digital, actually. Roll call.
Okay, so it's ours. Yes.
Aye.
Don't let anybody
Passed.
borrow it either. Okay.
You mean like CBA does?
No, it's like Arboretum does. That's what I was saying.
Let's just let the Arboretum have the old one, it works fine. Let them
That's
have
not a
that.
bad idea, yeah.
If we want to donate that to the Arboretum Committee, I wouldn't argue with that.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay. I have handed out to all the board members and those people that retain a salary, your tax forms, your 1099 miscellaneous, if there's any question. I've got the facts and figures back at my office. This is the time of the year when we get the two reports. The monthly is here for the portfolio, and here's the annual report if anybody wants to take a look at it. And it kind of breaks down the costs and where the money went, and the fees and the money that came in. Okay, here's the annual report. As far as the treasurer's report, number 215 as of this date. As of this date,